Well, here we go with your red hot FCS plays. Last week, 3-2 for the selections. One of the losses, over 63.5 in the Western Carolina UT Czech game. 63 points. At the end of the game, they had the ball inside the 10. Didn't get that extra point there, so lost by a half a point. The record goes to 3-2 last week. 54 wins, 29 losses over 2 years. You got to love it, guys. That's almost 67%. This is on a roll. Let's get to this week's plays, and we'll start with Illinois State against Indiana State. Now, Illinois State is 6-2 this year, and they have covered the last two games. The Redbirds are ranked number 17 in the FCS poll. That's Illinois State. Last week they were minus 13.5 and beat Northern Iowa 31-16. They had a solid 430 to 240 yard edge. Quarterback Tommy Rittenhouse is a 2-year starter and has a 21-4 ratio. Last year was 17-7, so he's made the strides that you would expect from a year's experience. They also have two running backs with 500 yards or more this year in Wright and Dawson, both over 500. And keep in mind, if you want to know how these players are doing, it's just like on the FBS version. You actually have game-by-game stats for every single player. So you could see Rittenhouse even started the season, looks like pretty slow in the first two games. So playing Oklahoma is going to do that. And then here's the rest of the season. But we do have individual player stats for all FCS teams. And not just this year. If you play fantasy football, I don't know if they have fantasy or prop bets. You can go back and see how Tommy Rittenhouse did last year in every single game, or the year before that, or the year before that. We have the individual player stats going back. We started compiling them a few years ago. All right, so their offense puts up 17 points per game more than their opponents allow on average. And that's what this column is here. We have this in the FBS. We have it here in the FCS as well. Like last week, for example, this says plus 71. So what that means is that Northern Iowa, in all their other games except when they play Illinois State, 71 would be 41, 56. They average 356 yards per game that they allow, and they got 430 or 71 yards per game more than that. I should say 39, not 36. Sorry about that. Now, Indiana State's off a huge upset. They upset South Dakota State last week. But let's look at this a little bit closer. Indiana State was outgained 441 to 228. South Dakota State had a 26-9 first down edge. Indiana State had a 95-yard kick return touchdown, and up 17-12. They got a 57-yard TD pass to win 24-12. The Sycamores punted 7 times with 6 3-and-outs. South Dakota State was without their starting quarterback, yet they reached Indiana State? Yeah, Indiana State territory, 11-12 possessions, but had 3 turnovers and 4 stopped on downs. That's like 7 turnovers. Indiana State in Missouri Valley play is minus 237 yards per game, while Illinois State is minus 26. You could clearly see who the better team is here. Indiana State is number 111 in our pass efficiency D. Let's go take a look at that. If you go to FCS information on Phil Steele Plus, we do have pass efficiency defense for the FCS. And now this it's not just the stats. It takes into account the strength of opponent. And as you can see, there's a difference in strength of opponent. Like here, 11.5 to 7.8. I'd take the time and go and examine that for you. But if you're on Phil Steele Plus, just go look at who Butler has played and who East Texas A&M has played, and look at the quarterbacks and the production, and you'll see that there is that big of a difference. So anyway, it says here Indiana State is number 111, and there they are way down here, and they're taking on a pretty good quarterback. The AGG has Illinois State by 16. So if you give them 2 points at 61.8, as you could tell here, that's by 16. And then this is the misleading final game of the week. That is a true misleading final here, that they beat South Dakota State. They played North Dakota, got hammered there, and last week they should have got hammered looking at the stats. Look at this. Same exact stats, basically, as they had against North Dakota. They lost that game by 29, but they won here. So a great misleading final game of the week. It's Illinois State 34 and Indiana State 14. Take Illinois State minus the 10.5. All right, we got Youngstown State hosting Southern Illinois. Let's go take a look at Youngstown State. I remember a time when Youngstown State was the top team in the FCS on a yearly basis. But let's put the Penguins over here. They're from nearby Youngstown State. And go to Southern Illinois over here. All right, Southern Illinois is the Salukis. All right, this game has big FCS playoff implications. Youngstown State is 5-4, but is in the playoff mix as their losses were to Michigan State, number 1 North Dakota State, number 9 South Dakota State, and that's when South Dakota State had their quarterback, and North Dakota. So they've played 4 really, really good teams. They led that game 17-7 at the half and only lost 35-30 against South Dakota State. Last week, they were at number 1 North Dakota State. They never trailed by more than 12, yet they only lost 38-30, and they were plus 26.5. Bo Brungard is their quarterback. And keep in mind, if you want to get the FCS magazine and get 2 full pages on every FCS team, especially with the playoffs coming up, just go to the home page. And when you go to the home page, go to the Phil Steele store right here. And when you go to the store, you have to go to digital editions. And when you go to digital editions, we see that the digital FCS magazine's right here. 2 full pages, every FCS team laid out the exact same way the FBS magazine is laid out. So make sure you do check that out. All right, let's go back here now, FCS team pages, and we're going back to Youngstown State. All right, so Bo Brungard has a 14-3 ratio this year and has rushed for over 1,000 yards. Wow, that's dangerous. And Southern Illinois is 6-3, but their 3 Missouri Valley wins over the bottom 3 teams in conference play: Indiana State, Northern Iowa, and Murray State. Southern Illinois was at North Dakota State and lost 45-17. So the same team they played within 8, they lost by 28. Youngstown State is plus 112 yards per game against conference foes, while Southern Illinois is just plus 45. Youngstown State has played the tougher schedule. Once again, let's go to Phil Steele menu here, and you can click on FCS information, and you can click on strength of schedule, and you will see here number 28 is Youngstown State, and number 44 is Southern Illinois. So they've played the tougher schedule so far this year. Let's go back here for a minute. All right. The computer and AGG both have Youngstown State by 7. As you see here, 87.2 to 81. That is 5-point difference. Add in the 2-point home edge, that's 7. The last 4 weeks AGG, which I love, and this is the time of year, I mention it all the time, that the last 4 weeks AGG, you lop off everything that happened at the start of the year. Just how are they playing right now? Right now, they are playing to a 93.9 level, and they're playing at an 81.2. So if you add 2 points over here, we only give 2 points for an FCS edge. 95.9, that is 14.7. Take Youngstown State by. And they're only minus 3.5 in this game. Youngstown State is 18-5 straight up at home. And look at this. We have the last 7 years ATS records. This gives you your home record right here. 27-13 at home since 2018. 18-5 straight up at home the last 4 years. Also gives you spread records all the way down here versus ranked teams, top 10 teams, conference dog, conference favorite on every FCS team. Who's got this information? Nobody except PhilSteele.com and Phil Steele Plus. It's the last 4 weeks AGG game of the week. It's Youngstown State minus 3.5 over Southern Illinois. All right, Mercer is against Western Carolina. Let's see what we got matched up here. We're going to put Mercer on the left because they are the visitor, and they are the Bears, and they are taking on Western Carolina. We'll put them over here on the right. When you get this Phil Steele Plus, you become an instant expert on these teams. Western Carolina, coached by Kerwin Bell here. Now, Mercer's minus 6.5. Let's see what we got. The winner of this game wins the SoCon. All right, it's a big game, and clinch a playoff spot. Now, Mercer has owned this series. They're 10-0 straight up and 6-1 ATS. And if you go back and take a look, let's see what they did last year. Beat them 44-34. You know what we could do? We could look right here. Last 6 years logs. Now, the 24 log is not in there yet. That should get in there soon, but you'd see that they covered there. Then you could see at Western Carolina plus 9, they won 45-38. Home to Western Carolina minus 11, they won 49-6. Who's got lines on the FCS since 2017? Nobody does. Oh, except Phil Steele Plus. At Western Carolina, minus 16.5. They only won by 10. That's the only game they did not cover. It was still a 10-point win. Here they were minus 8 and won 45-28. Here they were minus 3 and won 49-27. So, and here they were minus 10.5 and won 59-46. So 10-0 straight up, 6-1 ATS. Now we've been riding the Bears each of the last 3 wins as they crushed Princeton 38-14, VMI 62-0, and Furman 52-28. Now we've been using them on the tour. You guys are probably out there buying Mercer Bear shirts right now. True Frost Brady Atkinson, we've talked about him before. He has a 25-4 ratio. Now, he took over in the third game. Once again, if you look at individual player stats, you can see Atkinson did not play here. And here's Atkinson the rest of the year taking over. So, took over in the third game. He's been one of the best quarterbacks in the FCS. He's hitting 69% with a 25-4 ratio, and they've topped 300 pass yards in 6 of his 7 starts. You can see it right here. He should have said took over in the second game, not the third game. Oh, you know what that is? Remember, Mercer played that game that didn't really count. I think that's it. That's why I get a little confused looking at this. There's a game in there that didn't count. They didn't include the stats. Their defense allows just 294 yards per game, and they are number 4 in the FCS, allowing just 76 yards per game rush. So they stop the run good. The Bears hold their foes to 65 yards per game below their average. Once again, this tells you if this is plus 136, that means that Furman came in averaging 363 yards per game, and they held them to 227, which was 136 yards per game below their average. Now, this is updated all season long. It takes into account every game except their game against Mercer. So take all of VMI stats all year, like back up here, Wofford. This is every Wofford game except for Mercer, and they were actually minus 49 against Wofford. So Wofford's been averaging less than that, but a very good defense. Now, Western Carolina did not have their starting quarterback, Tayron Dickens, for the first 3 games. Let's go take a look at that. Dickens did not play the first 3. Okay, so that would explain 3 losses early. They're playing better. Since his return, he has a 26-1 ratio. Western Carolina has won all 6 games. Now, last week, we just missed the over 63.5 in their game against UT Chattanooga. Western Carolina led 35-28, and UTC had a first and goal at the 4, but QB overthrew an interception, and the game stayed under by a half point. Or threw an interception, I should say. The big edge here is on defense. Western Carolina's D allows 33 points per game at 449 yards per game. They're allowing 106 yards per game, more than their foes allow. Now, the last 4 weeks AGG just takes into account the current form and throws out a game like this Presbyterian game, which happened a long, long time ago. They're playing to a 96.3 level. Meanwhile, Western Carolina, even on this win streak, is only playing to an 80.3 level. So we expect a high-scoring game and Mercer's D to come up with enough stops to win by 2 touchdowns. He's got this one, Mercer, 45-31. I've got 2 more plays for you. We got Nicholls State against UT Rio Grande Valley. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I did not know UT Rio Grande Valley had a team in the FCS. Just learning this now. He didn't mark down who the home team is. All right, we'll put UTRGV over here. What's their nickname? Oh, the Valley Vaqueros. Okay, that's interesting. That is great. And yet we've got their information all up to date. And I'm sure they've got 2 full pages in the magazine. They're playing Nicholls. We're going to put Nicholls over here. Nicholls is plus 6.5 in this game against a brand new team. All right, Nicholls upset Incarnate Word in the opener, 20-6. Then lost 6 straight games, but 2 of those were against FBS teams. Talking about Texas State and Troy. 3 were on the road versus tough FCS teams. The Colonels have bounced back nicely, winning the last 2, each by a 31-7 score. And including a tour winner 2 weeks ago. You remember when they beat McNeese State for us. So I like that. We've won with this team, and look at the form they're playing in these last 2 weeks. That's really good. Now, they switched quarterbacks for the 2 wins. They benched Kentucky transfer Deuce Hogan and went with soft Ian Rodrigue. Let's go take a look at that. Individual player stats. You see Deuce Hogan was the starter, benched. Ian Rodriguez hit 12 of 21, 161, 17 and 22. So we've got, and he's got a 4-0 ratio, whereas Hogan had a 4-5 ratio. Now, the other advantage that we have with Rodriguez, he's already the number 3 rusher. He's only started 2 games. Rio Grande is a brand new program this year. They're off to a surprising start. They won their first 4 games, with 3 of them coming against lower division teams. I'm talking about Sul Ross State, Langston, and Texas Wesleyan. Okay. They've gone 2-3 since, now that they've got the big boy football, including a 41-17 loss at SF Austin last week. Now, UTSA transfer Eddie Lee Marburger, you remember him from UTSA, guys. You check your magazine out. He does have a 23-6 ratio, but it's only 14-6 versus the FCS. Nicholls is number 1 in our pass defense rankings. Now, how would a team that is 3-6 be number 1 in the pass D rankings? Let's go take a look. Part of it is their opponents, and I explained that they played a tough schedule. And part of it is they've only allowed a 9-13 ratio. Wow, that's pretty good. So we got the number 1 pass D in the FCS. They're allowing just 161 yards per game, 55%. Nicholls State has a massive schedule strength edge. Let's go take a look at that. Once again, we click back. We go to FCS information, go to strength of schedule. Nicholls is number 12, and UT, whatever their name is number 117. So they are way over here. UTRGV, that's what we're going to call them. The computer has Rio Grande by 1, but the last 4 weeks, AGG, is Nicholls by 5. This is a schedule strength game of the week. We're taking Nicholls State plus 6.5 over UT Rio Grande Valley. So I guess their nickname is not Valley Vaqueros, it's just Vaqueros. Their full name is Rio Grande Valley. Boy, you learn something new every day, don't you? And all this is available on Phil Steele Plus. UT Martin over Tennessee State. Once again, Kristen marked down who the home team is. So let's go put Tennessee State over here and take a look if they are. Nope, it's at UT Martin. I always like to put the home team on the right. Hopefully when you're doing these at home, you do the same thing. UT Martin is the Skyhawks, and they're hosting Tennessee State. Let's put Tennessee State over here on the left. They are the Tigers. I think that was Eddie George's team, I believe. UT Martin has 7 starters back this year from a team that went 9-5. Jason Simpson, the dad of Bama's Ty Simpson, is in his 20th year. I like that about Ty Simpson, then, a coach's son, huh? They were young and had a rough start at 0-4, but 3 of those games were against FBS foes and number 16, Southern Illinois, Oklahoma State, UTEP, and Missouri State. So 3 FBS teams. Since then, the Skyhawks are 4-1 and plus 90 yards per game in league action. So that's a plus. Once again, the last 4 weeks, I bet you is going to like this game a lot because you're taking away this and you're just putting in what they're doing lately. And maybe the conference AGG. I'm not seeing a conference AGG here, unfortunately. All right, so Tennessee State was a playoff team last year, but head coach Eddie George, hey, I got it right. It was Eddie George's team. Left for Bowling Green. They had 13 starters back, but they were a fortunate team last year as they were minus 28 yards per game. Let's take a look at that. Minus 28 yards per game in conference play last year. They won their opener, but have gone 1-7 since, and you can see that here. Sometimes when you lose your head coach, you lose some players as well, and I think some Tennessee State players landed on Bowling Green. They are minus 85 yards per game in league play. These guys are plus 90. That's a big advantage. The offense has just 14 points per game and 256 yards per game, and they average 128 yards per game less than what their opponents average. That's a lot of red over here, guys. UT Martin, or they lost by 16 at SEMO, and UT Martin beat SEMO by 24. And they lost by 24 to Eastern Illinois, and UT Martin beat Eastern Illinois by 7. UT Martin's minus 14.5. Now, my computer has UTM by 20, while the home away AGG has UTM by 23. As you see here, on the road, they're playing to a level of 49. At home, they're playing to a level of 69.8. So it'd be a 23-point edge. These teams are going in the opposite directions. We got a team that's rising versus a team that's really struggling, and we're going to take UT Martin by 3 touchdowns. It's UT Martin 34, Tennessee State 10. They are minus 14.5. Remember how to get that FCS magazine if you haven't got it already. The FCS playoffs are rolling along. I hope you enjoy all this stuff we give you on the FCS. 54 and 29. If you haven't already checked out the tour, 5 selections, 5 quick hitters up there. The tour red hot as well. And thank you for taking the FCS tour with me this morning.